I'm Alexander Podkhalyuzin, lead developer of Scala plugin for IntelliJ IDEA. Of course, it looks like a hard task to compete with reactive streams session, but all of you have good opportunity to learn about IntelliJ IDEA more. I prepared this talk generally about Scala plugin for IntelliJ IDEA, but also I prepared some statistics about Scala community libraries, some Scala language features statistics, and Scala code style statistics on top 50 GitHub projects. First of all, I want to say that Scala community is growing, and number of IntelliJ IDEA Scala users is growing together with whole community. And now we have almost 2 million of downloads of IntelliJ IDEA Scala plugin, and here you can see graph over the year of total downloads. So it's while we are working on Scala plugin, we have a lot of responsibility, and now it's really important to give you better quality of Scala plugin than just adding few more features. Of course, our main goal is the same. It's better type aware highlighting, better code assistance, but there are some trends which we can't ignore in Scala community. One of such trends is metaprogramming, and I'll tell you more about metaprogramming in this talk. As we have huge number of users, we decided to start collect some statistics about Scala usage, Scala plugin usage. Of course, every user requires to press that he agrees to be collected by our statistics. So not everybody collected in this statistic, but it's representative, and we can use this information to analyze and use to make IntelliJ IDEA better in general. So right now I want to share some of this information which we extracted recently. First of all is Scala compiler versions. As we know from Java world that sometimes it's hard to migrate from one compiler version to another, and it's the same in Scala community. So you can see that vast majority of people are using Scala 2.10. And how we can use this information to improve IntelliJ IDEA. The main idea that we can implement, for example, migration tool, which can help people to migrate from one compiler version to another, and it can improve adoption of new versions of Scala compiler. Okay, this is the list of the most popular Scala community libraries, and this is usage statistics of them in IntelliJ IDEA. I also added JUnit library because it's very popular in Scala community and generally in Java world. As you can see, Akka is the most popular library among Scala users. And does it mean that Akka requires some special support in IntelliJ IDEA? Actually, we are not using Akka in our Scala plugin development. And also, I can say that we are not experts in this framework. But this framework probably requires some intentions or specific inspections about Akka code smells. And what I want to say is that actually, you are experts as our users, as people who use Akka in your daily programming. So you can suggest us any features, and we will be glad to implement it. We're always open to community suggestions of implementing new features. Also, what we extracted from our statistics is that Akka is really popular library for pure Java projects, and this is great sign and success for Akka and for Scala in general, because this adoption can simplify migrating from Java to Scala at all. Another thing we can extract from this chart is that actually in IntelliJ IDEA, type-aware highlighting is not yet perfect, and we can use this list as some kind of priority over type-aware highlighting bugs. So type-aware highlighting related to Akka library can be the most important, for example, than, for example, Spray framework. Of course, Spray is also a very important library, but we didn't have a lot of resources to do everything at the same moment. The next thing is testing frameworks. Here the list of testing frameworks, and we can see that JUnit is still the king of the all testing framework, even in Scala community. This statistic is not completely correct because some people can use JUnit and, for example, Scala test together in the same project, and JUnit mainly, and don't use JUnit in this project, but it's just included as dependency. So we can use this information. Right now we can see that competition between Scala test and Specs2 very close, and it's fun. Also we can see that Scala check is also a very popular library, and currently in IntelliJ we don't have any specific support for Scala check, and I think it's time to do something for Scala check too, and probably it will be implemented really soon. And the last chart for today is Scala web frameworks. It's also not really correct statistics because it doesn't include Java frameworks like Spring or Java EE. But on this chart we can see that Play is the most popular web framework. Also we got information that Spray popularity is increasing and Lift popularity is decreasing in general. For us it means that we don't have any specific plans to support Lift, and we probably have to focus more on Spray, for example. Also, what I can add about Play is that among pure Java projects, Play is not really popular. So people don't use Play for Java projects. Probably it's because of Scala templates, which still requires you to know Scala, to have Scala, and probably to love Scala in general. That's probably what stops people from using Play in pure Java projects. We also inferred information that our Play support in IntelliJ IDEA is not really popular. I mean that around half of our users don't use Play with our Play support. So the big question is why? Probably it's because of Play support is buggy and you can't just use it. Or it's because you don't know about this Play support in IntelliJ IDEA, or probably it's because just Play included only in paid IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate version and you just don't want to pay any money for it. So we included such question in our survey on our booth, and also you can win IntelliJ IDEA license by filling this survey. So we want to have an answer to understand what's going on and why not everybody use Play support to develop Play. So I want now to add a few words about Play support in general. Right now we don't have any specific plans to add some new features to Play support. But if you have any suggestions, so you are welcome, and we will probably change our mind. Also, what I can add that recently Roman Janos implemented Hawkin format support for IntelliJ IDEA, and it's great contribution of our Scala community for IntelliJ IDEA. And we added Hawkin format support to Scala plugin, so it's now built in and you can use it with your Play or not Play projects and so on. Right now it has basic support for syntax highlighting and code formatting and so on. But in the nearest future, probably it will be implemented also internationalization support, which will simplify you to make your Play web apps more to support more languages than one. So let's go to Scala plugin. We also started to collect feature statistics of Scala plugin. It's important for us because we can analyze information that some feature is not, probably it's not usable, or people just don't know how to find such features, or it's just not interesting for Scala community. Other thing is we can understand that some defaults are wrong. For example, defaults for type-aware highlighting is definitely wrong because 86% of people use type-aware highlighting for development in IntelliJ IDEA. So definitely we need to change our defaults, and probably in future we will replace possibility to disable type-aware highlighting really simply. So it will be just hide it more in UI. What I can also add about type-aware highlighting, you probably know about our announcement that our Scala plugin sources are cleaned up from wrong error highlighting examples. And our project is not use some Scala-related technologies, so it's not ideal example which we use right now as regression testing and so on. So we want to add few more projects for these regression testings, and when next project we want to add is Scala compiler sources. Only recently it became usable in memory usage, because probably a few months ago it required much more memory for IDE to open sources. Right now you can use default value for memory and it will be almost okay in performance. Okay, one of our old features is code rearranger. We started to collect statistic a bit earlier about it, and we got that 11% of our users use it. So right now I can't say is it good or bad, but this is number we can analyze. So who knows that IntelliJ have possibility to rearrange entries of class members? Please raise hands. So it's not really a lot. So probably problem is that this feature is not really simple to find. Probably that this feature is hard to use, because if you start to rearrange entries in every file, then it can break VCS history, so not everybody wants to use it. But what I want to say that if we add features without thinking about usage, about possibility to discover these features, then IDEA can become something like big panel with lots of tumblers, which requires great experts to use it. Something like this one. But we don't want to have it. So we have plans that IntelliJ IDEA need to be better in kind of understanding of conceptions of usages. So everything should be simplified. That's why also we started to collect statistics, and we will be thankful if you agree to send these anonymous reports. So what we recently added is inspections on collections. It actually was added much earlier by suggestion of Vladimir Uspensky, and it was really great contribution to IntelliJ IDEA just by giving this idea. So and we developed this idea by adding new of them. So this is few more new examples. Recently added features had big reaction in IntelliJ IDEA Scala community users, because one of action was arguable, some kind of I show you now in live demo. So here you can see Scala compiler sources. It's a bit bigger than I thought. Okay, I'll make it smaller a bit. Okay. Okay, I didn't. Then you can see that even in such code base like Scala compiler sources, it's possible to find, it's not really code smells, but some ineffective things like call exists with lambda when you can just call contains method. So contains is much more effective and it's more readable. So it's funny that people who every day uses lambda wants to use it in every method call. So another example is, for example, you can see here, it's funny method. Not everybody know that Scala contains method which called non-empty, but right now you can replace it with method without negative call. So an arguable one is this one. Error here is option. It requires map and then get or else. But from Scala 2.10, there is method fold in option, which makes the similar thing. And we added inspection which can replace two calls into one. So it's more effective, but some people started to tell that it's less readable. Probably because it's something new, some kind of new thing, and people don't have habits to read such code. So that's why we decided to disable this inspection by default, and if you want, you can enable it and use it as your code style. And also we started to edit this question about this fold method into our survey. So you can also go to our booth and fill survey and help us to understand which way to write code is more correct, how you think. So it will be community opinion if we will enable again this inspection. So what do you think actually? Is fold is more readable or more appropriate? Who think that it's better way to write code? What do you think? It's not a lot of people. Or who thinks that map get or else is more appropriate? It's much more, okay. So probably it was right decision to disable this inspection by default. And also, as you can see, for example, this infer method is almost green except a few Scala docs inspections, which are actually, I'm not sure is it right or wrong, but it's some kind. It doesn't relate it to your code. It inspects your Scala docs. So let's continue. The next thing we implemented in the latest Scala plugin release is new import management. As you know, it's actually the shame of IntelliJ IDEA, but import Scala sum was some kind of IntelliJ IDEA signature in source code of people. So recently we found a reason why it happened, and now it works okay. It works right, and also it's time to wipe all the mess IntelliJ IDEA did before. So right now, import Scala sum is marked redundant. It wasn't a simple task because actually, when import is written, it's actually used because import has bigger priority over implicitly added classes. But we worked around it, and everything now showed right. And also, we implemented better optimized imports feature, which includes lexicographical sorting and grouping. And also a very cool feature is optimizing on the fly. So You just don't need to think about import management at all. It's folded, you don't think at all about it, and everything works okay. So I'll show you one more example. This is our source code, is Scala completion contributor, which is responsible for completion in IntelliJ IDEA. And here you can see big list of imports. Almost all of imports are relative. Recently we changed default for setting to use relative imports, and now it's changed to use fully qualified imports actually in IntelliJ IDEA. And also now optimize imports feature honors this setting, and it makes all relative imports fully qualified. So you can see, I'll invoke it, and you can see right now perfectly sorted imports, and also you can see that Scala related imports are grouped into a separate section. Also, it's very important actually for merging of two commits which changes the same file, because if imports were added into the same place, it always means merge conflict. So when imports sorted lexicographically, then probability of merge conflict is less possible. Also, some people use code style when imports were not grouped into the one's import statement. It's also because of merge conflicts possible when you add something into the same group. And we also added, currently disabled by default, but to support this code style setting, which when you can use imports, every import on the single line, not collected in the one import. The also cool feature in IntelliJ IDEA is new worksheet. Right now, worksheet use around 15% of all users in IntelliJ IDEA. But I think that recent changes can make this number bigger. So I'll show you a demo. Right now, it's possible to run worksheet without creating new file, so you can use it as REPL. And actually, I stopped use REPL at all, and now I can use worksheet, and it's much better and much more powerful actually than just REPL. So, for example, if you don't remember all shortcuts, there are very important shortcut in IntelliJ is go to action. So you can invoke Command Shift A on Mac, and then just type action name. I typed here worksheet, and it shows me create light Scala worksheet action. I can invoke it, and this is worksheet which life cycle is only when it opened in the editor. So if I close it, this worksheet dies. So for example, if I type something, but okay, you can see that the result immediately without any shortcuts which I need to invoke to run code. So as one example, I can show you, for example, check for some mathematical equation, for example, some very well known. So you can see that immediately it was evaluated, and result is what was expected. It's 1. But we know that floating point evaluation is not precise in any programming language. So, for example, we can check this, find a value when it's wrong. So it's evaluated again immediately, and you see that multiple output on a lot of lines is now folded by default. So so it doesn't require from us to change sources to add new lines. Also, you can unfold it, and you will see that it's like something like diff dialog. And also scroll, if something is bigger, the scroll will be synchronized and everything works well. But you can see that this equation is wrong in programming language, because programming is not mathematics. Okay, we collected just a little statistics about Scala language at all. We collected the structural types. Nobody uses structural types, actually. I mean structural types which requires reflection. Only 1% of people edits files which contains existential types, and the last thing is that 1.5% of people edits file which contains macros. But actual thing is that macros have bigger influence on whole community Scala because of such libraries like, for example, Shapeless too. And a lot of people don't know about macroses but uses Shapeless. And Shapeless usage of Shapeless in IntelliJ IDEA doesn't work, for example, right now in IntelliJ IDEA because of white box macroses with which we have problems. So we have to do something with it in IntelliJ IDEA. First possibility is to support only Shapeless library, so to work around Shapeless library to find all macroses and to hard code information about these macros. As example, I did it. It's not released yet, and it's not completely done in thing. So you can see here example. I changed a bit actual usage of Shapeless, so I added method convert with implicit generic parameter. In actual Shapeless, implicit parameter is generic.aux. So we need to expand macros during implicit search and not after. Here I implemented macro expansion right after implicit search, and this example works perfectly. And also I hard-coded product implicit method which converts tuples into heterogeneous list and everything. Right now type works. You can see that type of this second value is int. And if I change, for example, this int into string, you can see that this is string. So everything works as expected. So I'm planning to work around macro expansion during implicit search, and I think that probably next or one more release will contain support for Shapeless library. Of course, every developer always looks for generic solution. So currently, this generic solution can be interpreting macros. This is a complicated task. That's why we started to collaborate with Palladium project, or Project Palladium. And as part of our contribution, we implemented interpreter of Scala core trees. So now we need to implement converter of our IntelliJ AST trees into Scala core trees, and then interpret it and convert again back to IntelliJ interpretation. So this is very generic solution, and we have plans to implement it with collaboration with Project Palladium. And more information you will get on the Eugene Burmako talk later today in the evening. There are another thing about macroses and metaprogramming. It's compiler plugins and macro annotations. So we also implemented other approach, which is now highly experimental. But this approach is better than just plugging Scala plugin. because it requires some special knowledge about IntelliJ IDEA interfaces and so on. So we decided to implement simple DSL, which would be simple to use for everybody, and it could be dynamically loaded into IDE. And also we have plans that such scripts could be as part of library, which contains macro annotations or compiler plugin, and IDE can read these scripts and dynamically load into projects, so everything would work. I show you an example. So here you can see a simple file. Main idea that this annotation on X do something like bin property and adds to class test method getX. So right now everything works, and navigation on getX works to X. How it implemented? It implemented into some scam script, which asks member from context and checks that member has annotations, and then just member get containing class adds this new generated method. So, for example, I can change method name to have, for example, get placeholder and then not capitalized name. I can reload it, go to here. I also need to re-highlight it. So you can see that getX disappeared from class, and now I can add placeholder, complete it, and you can see that now it works as getX. Also, we added simple types in this scam script. It's wire types, but you can see this list of int, and we can check that. Type of X is exactly list of int. So everything works as expected, and we have plans to continue this work. Every who have interests in such work actually can collaborate, because it's open source. It's a separate branch of Scala plugin. So if you're really interested to make this support faster, for example, for compiler plugins, so you are welcome to help. One more thing I want to tell you about is refactorings in Scala. We recently added one more new refactoring. It's extract trait refactoring, and also improved extract method refactoring, which with duplicate search. So it's like introduce variable, but for methods, and it can find complicated duplicates with different with replaces for other variables and so on. And also case class extraction with multiple outputs of this method. So this is also cool improvements. But what I want to say, I don't want to show you, because everybody of you can try these new refactorings, that in Scala right now much less refactoring than Java editor has. So, but again, not every user of IntelliJ IDEA Scala plugin knows all of implemented refactorings. So as a possibility to check your knowledge of refactorings and actions, you can participate in our competition, where you need to replace one source code into target source code by using minimal number of keyboard actions. So you can try it on our booth. I think it's fun, and it's also a possibility to win a ticket for the next Scala Days conference. So you can just try it, and you are welcome. And the last thing about Scala plugin, I want to tell you about our new formatting engine, which we are working on. We are doing a new formatting agent which can infer formatting your code style from code snippet. then it can very big influence in general. It can simplify settings, code style settings, so you don't require at all code style settings. So if you want to change something, you just give code snippet. You don't need to search this setting among hundreds of settings. So also everything would be configurable. So we can't forget something about code style, and if you want to use somewhere some special space, so with this engine it would be possible. Also, it would be simple to implement some kind of code style inspection. Of course, it will not be enabled by default because it will show a lot of problems in, I think that almost in every project. But if project want to have pure code style for whole sources, then this inspection would be useful for lots of people. And also, we got possibility to collect statistics over the whole project about statistics code style. This work is under progress and it's also highly experimental. I can't promise it will be implemented soon. Probably it will be as part of IDEA 14, so it will not be on list for Scala. But right now we collected this information and I want to share some differences. We didn't find a lot of differences, so I show you only two of them. One of the differences is spacing after comma in types, in generic types. We found that about around 30% don't use this space. But purely this style used only in 2 projects of 50. Almost all of these 30% is mixed style in other projects. So I don't know why. Probably because of very small generic parameters. So, for example, map of v, comma, t. So people are lazy to put this space after the comma. Another thing is probably comes from Java world. It's space before left parenthesis in if statement. So still a lot of people don't use this space. So it's not general rule to put the space before left parenthesis. And the similar situation with while, slightly bigger number, and the same situation with for statement and do while statement. These numbers are differs, but probably because of general usages of such statements. There are also some differences in placement of, for example, else branch after brace, or try catch placement after brace and finally placement. But this difference is slightly harder to calculate, so I'm not ready to show you right now any numbers. So right now I want to share with you our roadmap. Generally it's improvements for highlighting, so it's correctness, performance, support metaprogramming, and also we want to improve navigation tools. So for example, implicit search tool, which we have already, it can't search deeper than first level. So we also want to implement deeper search for implicit parameters, for recursively added implicit parameters. It can help to debug some spray problems, for example, which sometimes DSL is insane by adding deep recursion of implicit parameters. Also, it would be good to implement some kind of navigation tools which shows which definition added some function. For example, we see that this function is available in this scope, but we don't know who adds this definition. It can be some import statement, or it can be class or something else. So such navigation tool would be possible to analyze your code. Also, we are working on refactorings, and we constantly adding new refactorings, improving old refactorings, and this work in progress. And I hope that in the nearest future we will get such refactorings as pull up, push down, and change signatures. And they're really important and very useful refactoring. SBT also requires a lot of work, and probably it will be implemented in collaboration with SBT team. I mean that they are implementing SBT server, which can help us to understand structure of SBT projects. So we will use this structure to generate our IntelliJ IDEA projects. Also, such server will help us to run such things like task, compilation, tests, and so on. An important also task is to improve debugger. It have a lot of problems, mostly because of very low-level Java JVM API, with which it's really hard to work. Also, it requires some refactorings in IntelliJ IDEA architecture to make Scala debugging better. So we are planning this work, and it will not be earlier than IDEA 14 because it requires a lot of changes in whole architecture. But we really want to improve stepping, variables view, and what we also really want is evaluate for closures, because people like closures and use everywhere. So in evaluate expression, it also would be useful to map, flat map, and filter, and so on. And the last thing, we want to move to early access preview conception, because number of users make requirement of better quality. So we have plans to put early access releases with fixes, with new features, which community can take earlier than Scala plugin release, and to share us feedback about this year. So we want to move out of nightly builds conception, because nightly builds actually a bad idea, because sometimes it can be unstable. So people thinks like they are working with. They probably think that they are working on curving edge, but we usually say that such guys are just geeks. So they use the latest IDE nightly, the latest compilers, the latest plugins, and so on. So YAP conception is more safe for users, and it requires testing from us, and I hope it will be better and improve quality of Scala plugin in general. So thank you, that's all. Any questions? Yes.
So about imports, so I always dreamed about the feature so that I can I know if it works already, maybe it does. So if you have wildcard import, can you have a look at all the stuff that's imported in current program and use this wild?
Oh, you mean that to find all variables which uses this import or classes?
Well, I mean like if I say import foo underscore and foo has A and B and C, but only A and B in use, and I would like to have a list of A and B just, the stuff that for this equivalent non-wildcard import base.
You mean that to simplify wildcard imports into just a list of two imports? It's not implemented yet, but I think it would be good to implement. That's how it works in Java editor, actually. So we have to move to Java level support. So I have it in mind. Yes?
Is there any chance to
Okay. So question is about implicit parameters to show errors in editor when implicit parameter were not found. Yes, we have such plans, but problem is that we want to wipe most of problems with also with implicit parameters, with implicit conversions, and a lot of other red code examples which are wrong. And then we want to add few more, because it will be a bit annoying when we add some new feature into highlighting. It will not work very well. So I think some people will become angry on us. So it's not really hard to add such highlighting. So it just because of our such policies that we don't want. But we have, for example, plans to add in the nearest future highlighting for variance annotations. I mean, when type parameter used in the wrong variance place, when covariant parameter used in contravariant place. So this highlighting, for example, will be added, I think, soon. So sometimes we will add new highlightings. Okay.
I have a short question about the competition you mentioned, just how to access it.
Okay, thank you for the question. Question is how to access to competition about IntelliJ Code Golf, which we call. We have instructions with username and login generated for everybody, and instruction list. You can take it on our booth and compete.
Can you tell me what's the current state of language injections in Scala?
So the question is about current state of language injections. One of the, you mean the IDE support, like injections into string of different languages? Okay. We have some performance problems related to IntelliJ IDEA platform. So if your code doesn't require a lot of calculations, so it doesn't require a lot of implicits, you can enable it and it will work for you already. So you can use language injections. But problem is that for such projects which requires a lot of calculations for implicit parameters, implicit searches, it sometimes makes performance lags, and it's not because of Scala plugin, it's because of some problems in IntelliJ platform, which starts to evaluate this language injection in UI thread, and it freezes UI. That's why we a bit stopped looking into this direction, while IntelliJ platform will be fixed in this direction. Okay.
So in this cool macro annotation stuff, what actually can the user do? What's the API?
The question is about API of macro stuff, which I showed right now. You mean that about macro annotations? Yes. Okay. API is poor actually right now, but we can add more features to this API when people would share their requirements for this API. So if you have some specific macro annotation in your code, you can ask us to collaborate on, for example, this collaboration can just show your requirements about your specific macro annotation, and we will be able to understand what to add to API, then your macro annotation will be suitable and possible to implement in this pluggable API.
Can you tell something about state and roadmap about Android support?
Okay, this question is about roadmap of Android support. We recently got pull requests for our SBT support to support Android, so I hope it will be integrated soon, and Android projects will be simpler opened in IntelliJ IDEA. One person asked us about internationalization support in Scala for Android, which doesn't work right now, but this is the first time we got this information about that this doesn't work, and I think it will be fixed. And if you have any specific requirements from Android support, you are welcome to suggest in our issue tracker, and we will be glad to implement it too, because Android development is really important. Okay, thank you very much.